Hello and welcome to today's Coffee with Craig. I am Craig, in case you haven't guessed yet. This is where we talk about all sorts of topics largely relating to the Second Amendment. So whether it's culture, politics, whether it's legislative action, judicial action, we're talking about it here on Coffee with Craig. So do me a favor, go ahead and like this feed, as well as make sure you share it. Share it so that your friends and family can know what you're talking about and perhaps get involved in the conversation. Today we're going to talk about a gun control group that has formed, really kind of a unique gun control group. It's known as Gays Against Guns. That's right, you heard me, Gays Against Guns. And they decided that they were going to stage a holiday protest against Strum Ruger, which is a gun manufacturer that's located in Southport, New York. And, you know, it was kind of funny. They went and they had signs, and on the signs they had various different things, you know, including stating that that they manufacture weapons of mass destruction or massacre weapons. They had signs. Here was one of their slogans. It was Strum Ruger is worse than Freddy Krueger. And they actually also had a song that they decided to put together in honor of Strum Thurmond that I thought that you would find, well, interesting.
And now we would like to sing for you a little holiday song that we have prepared for Strum Ruger. Terry, do you have the bells?
Oh, I do, yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. We're Strum Ruger. No, wait.
Oh, we're up, yeah.
We're Strum Ruger elves. We're Strum Ruger elves. Making guns for everyone. We're Strum Ruger elves.
So, as you can see, they were actually a relatively small group. I think it was a total of about 30 people. Needless to say, this got media coverage. That 30 people showed up at a gun manufacturer to actually do a protest. Wow, biggie. But, it raised the question to me, all right, so in cases like this, and probably the one of the times in which you started to see really this community start to really get actively involved in either gun control or gun rights, or gun control in particular, had to do after the Pulse nightclub shooting. And, one of the things that was really interesting about that was you really started to see groups like Equality California and other gay rights groups really become active on the anti-gun side. Now, once again, here's a case where literally this guy had anyone there in the nightclub had a firearm to be able to defend themselves against this individual, there's no way we would have seen the level of massacre that we would have seen there. And it is a shame that the goal of groups is to make sure that there's never anyone in any position to be able, in situations like this, to be able to defend themselves. Well, luckily, there is a group out there that is actively engaged, that is actively involved, and is really fighting for the right for all people, to be able to defend themselves in the face of hate. So check them out real quick. You guys I'm sure you're familiar with the Pink Pistols.
Maria Rodriguez tragically lost her close friend and housemate Frankie during the massacre.
He went there with a couple of friends. I wasn't able to make it that day. The rest of our friends were able to get out. The last time that they saw him was that he was being shot while he was in a fetal position on the floor, and that's it. That's all we know.
Since the shootings last June, the Orlando community has come together in unity, and now they are fighting back against hate crime.
Pink Pistols was formed in the year 2000, and it's a non-profit organisation. It was set up after a series of attacks on the LGBT community, and they figured that if they had a gay gun rights advocacy group, that they could help train people in the gay community to be able to safely defend themselves using a firearm.
Pink Pistols has chapters across the United States, but didn't have one in Florida.
So, you know, the most, probably the most, the thing that got me the most in that whole segment. And there's a whole 6-minute long story that was done that they did on them. That really got me was, you know, how this lady, how she found, how all she knew was her friend was in a fetal position, was shot while in a fetal position. And sometimes I feel like that's the way in which these anti-gun groups, these civil rights, anti-self-defense groups are, is that's how they want us. They want us to be curled up in a fetal position whenever there's an attack, whenever there's a time in which we need to be able to defend ourselves and defend others. They would have us curled up in a ball in a fetal position, waiting for help to come that is probably not going to show up. And if it does, it's probably not going to show up in time to save us or to save those that we love dear, save those who are close to us. You know, I've always said this it really doesn't matter it doesn't matter your politics. It doesn't matter your sexual identity. It doesn't matter your religion. Let us be clear. The right to keep and bear arms is about your fundamental human right to be able to defend yourself. And I think that all people, all human beings have that fundamental right. And the worst part about some of these groups that claim to be civil rights advocacy groups or advocating for the new civil rights is that they would seek to do the exact opposite. They would seek to disarm people, to make victims out of people in their own community. They would seek to make victims out of them. It is sad and it is shameful, but it is what happens when your liberal gun-hating, government-loving philosophy overtake even the most basic sense of right and wrong. I think groups like this, Gays Against Guns, are shameful. Just like I believe the same thing about Everytown. I believe the same thing about the Brady campaign, because the things that they advocate for are not about making us safer. It's about making more victims. It's about putting people in positions where they are not able to defend themselves when the criminals come, when the mass shooters come, when the terrorists come, when the criminally insane come. They want to make sure that we are not able to be prepared. That's shameful. And I think if there's anybody who needs to kind of rethink their priorities and anybody that needs to be protested, it's groups like this. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to like and share these videos. Remind everybody, tell everybody, this is the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. We've got to use them or we are going to lose them. Thank you so much for watching.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.